Good morning and hello to my fellow weirdos and wildlings and fools and seekers and candlestick makers, except I've never made a candlestick, so guess we're not fellows on that one. If you have made a candlestick, cool for you. I've made candles, but never the candlestick. So, welcome to Abysmal Perspective. I'm Fi the Abysmal Witch. This is just my perspective. It is not to be held against anyone else but myself, and even I will acknowledge that my perspective changes because that's what perspectives do, and therefore I reserve the right to change my perspective at any point, as we should all be able to. We should all be able to have space to learn and to grow and to change and not be held hostage to who we were in the past. Accountable, yes. Hostage, no. Different. Today we are in part 3. Yes, we are. Part 3 of Ancestors, in this particular world view of ancestors or classification system, whatever you want to call it, that I was gifted, that is one that I enjoy working with. It does not replace anything else. It is not better than or worse than any other approach. It's simply another way to hold a perspective on working with ancestors. That's my disclaimer, because I'm not trying to say anybody else's way of looking at it is wrong, because that would be wrong. It's just a different way. So I work with a trinity of ancestors, of bone, blood, and blitz. And previous episodes, I talked about bone, our bone ancestors, kind of our DNA, the places where we live. Our blood ancestors was last episode, and I got myself in a little spiral on bodily fluids. Are they not? Is this, the broad kind of definition of blood ancestors? Could be, but passing on of life. The bone ancestors would be essentially structure, passing on that genetic structure and the physical structure and health that we have. The blood ancestors is that giving of life, how we came to be. It is how the DNA is transferred along as well. So these are all very interconnected. Again, you can slice and dice how we peel apart the multi-thread faceted essence that is our ancestral lines in various different ways. This is just one way. So today we are talking about ancestors of bliss. Now, if you've listened to all 3 of these episodes and have a remarkable hearing, and assuming my sound quality was not completely off, you may have noticed that sometimes I say ancestors of blitz and sometimes ancestors of bliss. And if you're sitting there going, wait, you just said the same thing twice, allow me to enunciate a little better for you. Blitz, and bliss. So the first one, B-L-I-T-Z, blitz, German word, means lightning. Blitzkrieg, actually, it's a relatively familiar term, I think. Sometimes I'm not entirely sure because, as older, generationally speaking, and my lexicon doesn't always transfer over. But blitzkrieg, right? Like if you're receiving a blitzkrieg, oh my God, it's a multi-layered crazy attack. It was used, I'm sure it came from one of the world wars. Krieg is war, blitz is lightning. So it was like the kind of lightning war. That's where you might know the word from. In this case, no Krieg, no war, just lightning, blitz. I'll explain why in a second. And then the other word, bliss, English for, oh my God, super ecstatically joyful, woohoos. Also we'll come back to. The reason that I flip between the 2 words, well, actually, let me get a little bit into this. So where this particular, because while I was gifted with this view of the 3 branches of ancestry, that gift had to have fertile ground, and the fertile ground included a lot of the nervous system and somatic work that I had been doing, which looks at and explores and works with our nervous systems, how we are impacted by the world around us, like how the nervous system generally works, what happens when we have traumatic experiences, how we can heal it, all of that kind of stuff. And with the nervous system, what they have found is that Okay, I'm going to get really weirdly technical just for a moment. I'm not overly going to explain it, because if you already know this, you get it. And if you don't, the amount of time to actually explain the full thing is too long. I don't have that much time left before I will get to work. Okay, so in our nervous system, we have the sympathetic, well, we have the autonomic nervous system and the other one, but I'm talking about the autonomic nervous system. And we have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And sympathetic is activation, parasympathetic is rest digest. Quickest way to put it. In the, I do believe, parasympathetic system, we have the vagal nerve. So ventral vagal and dorsal vagal, so front and back. Vagal nerve, they go to I think ventral is the upper part, dorsal is the bottom. When we are born, we have nervous system online, but the ventral vagal in particular, I can't remember about the dorsal vagal, because I feel like dorsal vagal is the real quick shutdown. It is that very primary reptilian kind of thing that happens in the nervous system. So you have that side of the nervous system is shut down. That basic nervous system is on board when we're born. But the more complex ventral vagal in particular gets developed. It is our social engagement nervous system. It learns from the environment and that we are in, including particularly the people, the other mammals, most likely, but humans in our environment. So our nervous system patterns after our caregivers, not an automatic imprint from the one who gave birth, nor the one who gave the genetic material. So the genetic material is your bone ancestors. The one who gave birth would be your blood ancestor, as discussed in the last one. The one who takes care of you is your bliss ancestor, or blitz. Your blitz ancestor has passed on the wiring into of their system onto you. So that is the first complexity we add to our systems after we were born, is patterned off of those that we are around. Now you could say that it's behavior as opposed to nervous system. You do you. But going with that as my basis, nervous system, of course, is run on electrical impulses, right? What is lightning? It is electricity going from the ground to the sky, despite what visuals would tell us, apparently. Science is weird. World's miraculous. So it is itself electricity. And at the time I was, when the system was developing, being gifted to me, fruiting out of my head, that came out very strange. Bone, blood. Well, it had to be a B. It needed to be a third B, because we can't have two parts of alliteration and not the third part when they're talking about three things. That's just the way it works, people. Don't you know? So it needed to be a B, and I knew it was about this nervous system and about that patterning that we take from other people, which will get us to the bliss side in a second. And so blitz, because I have enough German in my language studies in my past to know a few words still, and to have them readily available in my head. Plus, it's kind of a fun word. So, bone, blood, and blitz. I was like, yeah, right? Also, then you've got your, in a sense, you've got stone and water and fire. But we're talking three, and really what we're talking is salt, sulfur, and mercury. And even though we would normally think, I think of mercury in that watery sense, the mercurialness, that quick, shifty movement quality kind of works for me with the blitz. So, as I've mentioned in all three of these, That's as far as I'm going to go on the topic of alchemical relations, because also, shrug, I could be completely misreading how they align because I so struggle with those alchemical elements. So coming back to Blitz and Bliss. Well, Blitz then has to get explained all the time. A little rough, it's nice having words that make instant sense. And when I sat into this idea of ancestry that comes from our interactions, from engagement, from learning, those biggest patterns are the ones that, and particularly the ones we choose and embrace, are where our bliss is, right? Where we find incredible joy, where we have mentors, where we are soaking up the essence of that other person as much as we can because they exhibit the traits that we want to embody. And so I believe, this is belief, not proof, but belief, that we are doing that. We are soaking up their essence from nervous system to nervous system. We are inviting our systems to shift and adjust to embrace what is being gifted to us or what is being revealed to us by those mentors, whatever they may be. So our ancestors of bliss, so very broad of a statement. And actually with all of these, there's a certain amount of, don't think it's just human. Yes, it is just human. There's just the human side, but I think all of these expand very nicely into the, to be para-human, beyond human, heka-human, heka, Greek, beyond. Anyway, neither here nor there for this. So bliss, when you have a passion, when you have something that you are seeking toward, through that apprentice journey, mastership situation, I strongly believe that those people are our bliss ancestors. Bliss and blitz. Either one, both, same. And those also become our chosen family. So we could have the chosen blood family in the sense of that passing along of life, death aspects. And I do think a lot of chosen families go into that category. But I think a lot of the chosen families fall under the bliss category, that we are choosing. This is where we have choice on this one. We don't when we're born. When we're born, that blitz ancestor, the caregivers that we have when we are babies, we don't have a choice in that. But later in life, we absolutely have choice. And this is where, and even for our bone ancestry, our living bones, we can choose where we live. We can choose what continues to fuel our bones. Maybe not those early developments, but we're constantly taking in the nourishment from Terra. It's called food. We eat it. Even if it's not local to you, you're still eating food. It's how you're still alive. In case that you didn't know that. And yeah, so we can shift it. We can shift our blood ancestry. It's hard. You can't remove what already exists very easily. You can renounce it. You can deny it. But the reality is, it is there. You wouldn't be here if it hadn't existed. So you can renounce it, but you can't get rid of it. It's one of those funky fun things. But bliss and blitz, yeah, it's very hard to overcome that initial patterning, but it can be done. We have so much more control in this particular arena, and this ancestry embrace and bring the joy and also honor, as this is also incredibly important. In some ways, you could say it's the most important because it is the place where we have the most choice. Except I don't like saying that it's most important. They're differently important in a lot of ways. So that is my tripartite, if that's a word that is a right word, view of our ancestors and how I like to work with the ancestors of bone, of blood, and bliss. With that, I bid you a very fond farewell. Take great care of yourselves, and may the blessings of the weird and wild always be with you. Bless be.